Sitam tad vihatam vinasyati. Tivyatyanatto pitadikshito vane. Griha mukutana jivati. Pati chutam tistati diksharaksitam. Grihe sitam tad vihatam vinasyati. Tivatyanato pitadikshito vane. Grihe vimukta swahato na jivati. Patti, on the public road. Chutam, some possessions dropped. Tisthati, it remains. Dishtarakshitam, protected by destiny. Grihi, at home. Stitam, although situated. Tat vihatam, struck by the will of the Supreme. Vinashati, it is lost. Jivati, remains alive. Anatapi, although without a protector. Tat ikshitaha, being protected by the Lord. Vane, in the forest. Grihi, at home. Abhigupta, well hidden and protected. Asya, of this one. Hataha, struck. Na, not. Jivati, lives. Translation, sometimes one loses his money on a public street where everyone can see it, and yet his money is protected by destiny and is not seen by others. Thus the man who lost it gets it back. On the other hand, if the Lord does not give protection, even money maintained very securely at home is lost. If the Supreme Lord gives one protection, even though one has no protector and is in the jungle, one remains alive. Whereas a person well protected at home by relatives and others sometimes dies, no one being able to protect him. Please repeat. Sometimes one loses his money on a public street where everyone can see it, and yet his money is protected by destiny and not seen by others. Thus the man who lost it gets it back. On the other hand, if the Lord does not give protection, even money maintained very securely at home is lost. If the Supreme Lord gives one protection, even though one has no protector and is in the jungle, one remains alive. Whereas a person well protected at home by relatives and others sometimes dies, no one being able to protect him. Purport by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. These are examples of the supremacy of the Lord. Our plans to protect or annihilate do not act, but whatever he thinks of doing actually happens. The examples given in this regard are practical. Everyone has had such practical experiences. And there are also many other clear examples. For instance, Prahlad Maharaj said a child is certainly dependent on his father and mother, but in spite of their presence, the child is harassed in so many ways. Sometimes in spite of a good supply, a supply of good medicine and an experienced physician, the patient does not survive. Therefore, since everything is dependent on the free will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our duty is to surrender unto Him and seek His protection. And the purport. Om Agyanam Dinamdasya Gyanam Gyanasakaya Chakshurmitam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nevishesha Sandavari Vastarazatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you don't mind, I'll speak briefly on this verse. Then I was asked to speak a little bit about Sridhar Maharaj, who's our Sridhar Maharaj, who's they will have a program this morning at his Samadhi Mandir at 10:30 to 12, because at 12 o'clock there's the Abhishek. Sorry? From 9:30 till 12. Then there'll be Abhishek of Srivas Thakur, whose appearance date is, so then we'll speak also about Srivas Thakur. So here, this is Hiranyakashipu. He's narrating the story of Yamaraj, who appears as a young boy to enlighten the distraught and distressed relatives of the king, dead king, who died in battle. And it works. He raises their consciousness, and they become quite normal again. Otherwise, they didn't want to. They was hanging on to the body, although it was supposed to be preparing to be burnt. They were hanging on to it, and they were so affected. So raise their consciousness to by giving Atma Gyan, Atma Tattva, explaining the difference between the soul and the body, and actually the body is destined to die, obviously. That is the nature of it. And there's nothing we can do about that. No one is able to protect this body from death. And also the others. We make so many programs, as Prabhupada mentions here, we make so many programs to protect and annihilate, but they do not work. Sometimes they work, sometimes our programs work, but very often they never work. Whereas Krishna's plans always work. So whatever Krishna thinks of doing actually happens. And that we see in his history. That is the part of the reason for his incarnation, because we're trying to do things, we're trying to make things go our way, and we're not successful. We're trying to stop the problems, we're unsuccessful. But in Krishna's life, he's never unsuccessful. Whatever he wants to do, he does. He completes. So he's given us evidence by showing us, practically when he appears in the Prakat Leela, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not just talking, he actually lives his talk. Nobody can interfere. There's another way of mentioned in the Bhagavatam. This mic's humming a little bit, if any technicians here. There's another nice way of putting it in the one shloka here, Bhagavatam, that the Lord's determination is actual fact. Means whatever he puts his mind to, it's going to happen. And without any endeavor. And he enjoys doing, even when he's acting in the so-called material world, he derives pleasure from that. His pastimes are full of pleasure. He has no difficulty because, as we heard yesterday, he has nothing to gain. Nothing to gain and nothing to lose. He's the Supreme Lord. He is the controller. He is the enjoyer. He doesn't have to prove it. We're trying to prove it, or we're trying to take his position. This material world is full of imitation gods, imitation Krishnas. We're all little imitation Krishnas. Right? We would all like to be the center of attention. Right? Nice. We'd all like to do whatever we want without any hindrances. Right? We'd all like to enjoy ourselves, right? But it doesn't work like that, because everyone wants that position, you see. That's the problem. Everyone's after... There's only one position and everyone wants it, ultimately. We may settle for a bit less, but the desire would be to be the central, on top, the central figure. So that is illusion, because it's the spot has already been taken, unfortunately. Krishna's already got the spot, and it's his. If he wants to give it to you for a little while, he can do it, but Hiranyakashipu had a little sampling. And in the more esoteric parts of the more intimate parts of the spiritual world, Krishna gives the supremacy to his devotee also for his pastimes. But otherwise, he is the Lord. And as Prabhupada mentioned earlier in another book, and here the duty, he mentions it again. Our only duty is to surrender to him, because the material life means how to offset problems. Mainly, that's the main activity in the material world. Right? You spend a whole day making preparations. Right? You're at school, whole day. You're at work, whole day. Right? You're trying to achieve something, but it takes a whole day to get the facility to actually achieve your desires. So mostly the life is work, defending. It's difficult, but and we're doing it for a purpose. The purpose is to actually enjoy it, but we never actually make it. We never actually become successful. We think we're going to overcome the problems that are facing us, but the problems are brought by destiny, and they're eternal. The problems are endless. So where will we stop? From birth till death, the problems are coming on a conveyor belt, as well as happiness. So even if you try to stop them, and we can only work on the ones that are manifest at the moment, the prominent problems that we have, we just don't know what's behind it. And there's more problems behind that, there's more problems behind that, and there's more problems behind that. But Maya thinks, no, let me get this problem out of the way, then I'll be peaceful, then I can really execute my program and be happy. That's how Maya keeps everyone in the material world bound up. But there's no end. They're endless. The samsara, this wheel is endless. It's out. We're getting the reactions. We got to experience the reactions from our previous past, good and bad. So they're endless. So it's futile to try to endeavor to realize this plan of success and happiness in material life. It's futile. It's illusion. Nobody's ever done it. Right? Have they? In history? Nobody's ever achieved exactly what they wanted. I'm perfectly happy and no complaints about anything. I'm fine. Nobody said, you don't hear that, and you don't read it, you don't see it. It doesn't work, you see, because the living entity, the spirit soul, cannot be happy in matter. So is out of his environment, proper environment. But he's trying to adjust the environment so he can be comfortable in the environment. The example is the fish out of water. The fish cannot adjust the environment outside of water to be comfortable. So the spirit soul can't adjust the material energy to be comfortable. That is Maya. But still we endeavor. Even we know it's Maya, we still endeavor. And of course we have to endeavor. There's some things, the basic things you have to endeavor. You have to eat, you see. Even though you're a spirit soul, you have to eat. Then you have to sleep. Then you have to clean yourself. Then you have to get all this things, you have to defend yourself. The mosquito is attacking. You have to take precautions. It gets hot, it gets cold. You have to take precautions. Nothing you can do about it, otherwise you just suffer more. So this is the material world, but what is it? The duty is not just to overcome these problems, just to make everything smooth, and then you become a first world citizen. No, that's not the purpose. The people are still not happy in the so-called first world, right? Where everything, works quite well, seemingly. Superficially it works, but there's still can you say that people are happy there? So even you get that material comfort, they're still not satisfying. Still want more. So there'll always be that. As long as you're in the material world, as long as you're not connected with Krishna, as long as you haven't established a relationship with Krishna, then it'll always be a feeling of lacking. And so that's what it is. So ultimately, your only duty is to surrender to Krishna and establish that relationship. Then you'll be happy. And then, once you've done that, then it's irrelevant in how the modes of nature work in, whether they're present in this circumstance or that circumstance. Once you've established a relationship with Krishna, they will become insignificant. But without that relationship, then they become very important, insurmountable problems. So much happiness. Then we really identify with it. Because we have nothing else better to take shelter of. So we're forced to take shelter there in the material. We're forced to take shelter in the body, which means the senses. That's all we identify with at the moment. But here Krishna's showing that I'm doing it, I can do it. I can do what you want to do. I'm coming, I'm showing you, I'm doing it, I'm having a good time. Nothing, whatever I want to do, I do. Who can stop me? And my friends also, they're with me, they're having a good time, you see. They're happy. They have fear. They have no fear. Hey, look, that big serpent with his mouth open is ready to gobble us out. Who cares? Krishna's here. Let's go in. Walk in his mouth. So they have no fear. So Krishna says, here, come. You join my party, then you get what you want. Your fearlessness, and you get your happiness. That's Krishna's proposition. Because we don't believe, we don't have faith in Scripture, Krishna personally comes and shows. He personally comes and enacts these pastimes. All kinds of pastimes. And he enjoys doing them. So that's his. Otherwise, as he mentioned here, Yamaraj is saying, and Yamaraj knows very well about people's destinies. He says, how are you going to... No one's going to actually protect you in this world. Nothing can protect you. Your bank balance, your family, nothing's going to protect you. Destiny's going to take it away. But on the other hand, he says, even if he said, I'm living in the forest alone. I'm still alive. I'm not eaten by it. I'm healthy. So, because if Krishna wants, Krishna Rakhi Marhe. So if Krishna's there, if Krishna wants to protect you, then nothing can harm you. And if Krishna wants to take you, nothing can help you. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki. So, there's in the life of Srivas Thakur, he's one of the principal associates of Lord Chaitanya, represents the pure devotees, the leader of the pure devotees, unalloyed devotees, who Lord Chaitanya loves very dearly. And so many wonderful pastimes took place in Srivas Thakur's house. It said it's equivalent to the Vrindavan pastimes, Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes. Although he was born in Mathura, the main pastimes are in Vrindavan. And though he was born in the Jog pit, most of his pastimes are in the Srivasangam, a little way away. And so that's considered the Vrindavan, that's considered, and the nocturnal kirtans they had were considered like the Ras Leela. In other words, it was the Lord is is displaying his most intimate personality. Because generally we think of the God as the almighty controller, with all his opulences. You see in Vrindavan when he's dancing with his girlfriends, and he's showing them, wonderful dances. He's Nataraj, he's a very exquisite dancer, and he shows them these beautiful dances, beautiful, intricate steps, and singing wonderful melodies. He's playing on the flute, and they clap, very good, very good. Then they'll get up, and one of the gopis will perform something, wow, fantastic. And they'll impress Krishna, and then he'll try to impress them. This way Krishna's revealing his supreme personality, what he likes to be doing when he doesn't have to be God. But he can only do that with his pure devotees. So therefore he's there with his devotees, he's serving his devotees, he's attracted to his devotees. And here as Lord Chaitanya, he comes to be a devotee. He comes to experience the love of his devotee. He comes to experience what it's like, the bliss of chanting his own holy names in Sankirtan with the Vaishnavas. He left his carrier Garuda, he left his opulences of Vaikuntha. He came down here to be with the Vaishnavas, to be one of the Vaishnavas, and dance with them and chant kirtan of his holy names. And he showed all those various different, very, very extraordinary moods, which one actually, nobody heard of them before. Ecstatic symptoms no one's ever heard of. The Puranas don't mention them. The pastimes, emotions that were never imagined before. From especially that of taking the role of a devotee and wrapping his arms around the devotees' necks and crying piteously on their shoulders. You're the Vaishnavas, you have Krishna, I don't have Krishna, please give me Krishna. Falling at their feet and holding onto their feet and crying, begging for their mercy for Krishna. He's relishing this. How can you say that these devotees are sentimental or chanting Hare Krishna is something cheap? Even the Supreme Lord himself comes and engages in these pastimes just to show people how glorious the association of the Vaishnava is, how wonderful the chanting of the holy names in Krishna's kirtan. So he would, and Srivas Thakur was one of the first persons that he revealed his identity to. When after Lord Chaitanya came back from Gaya, he was a changed person. All his arrogance was gone, and his argumentations and things like that. He used to tease the devotees. Now he was very humble, very nice. He used to help the devotees carry things, heavy things. When they went to the Ganga, he would take bath, he would fold their cloth for them and help them get out Ganga, dry them. He was very personal, very pleasant. He was just asking for their blessings. And they were giving him blessings. They were giving the Supreme Lord, they were giving their blessings that he becomes a nice Vaishnava. It would be a great day, it would be our great fortune that we've always desired that you become a devotee, because you have all the good qualities. You're so learned, so beautiful. And we've always been praying to Krishna that you become a Vaishnava, but now you'll be the crown jewel of all the Vaishnavas, and we can have your association. We bless you that you get Krishna's mercy over and over again in abundance. Mahaprabhu was very, very happy to hear this. And they were also telling of their distress at that time, because there was a lot of critique against the Vaishnavas, because, as you know, this place where we are now was very, very populated city, and it was one of the main seats of learning in India. There were thousands of professors and hundreds of thousands of students. Anyone had a place in Navadvip. So, but unfortunately, they was all materialistic. That was the plight of and they could not understand when the Lord, when the curtains, they didn't understand why this loud singing, so loud, they're going to disturb everyone. You worship the Lord by japa or self-chanting, meditation. They're ruining the system, the Hindu system. It's a speculation coming from Srivas Thakur and his brothers. There was a lot of criticism, and this pained Nimai. So they became very angry, and he was calling, I am him, I will annihilate all these miscreants, I will kill all these atheists. And he ran to Srivas's house, and he's kicking the door. Srivas, open the door, open the door. What are you doing inside? Don't you know who you're worshipping inside? That person, I'm that same person. Srivas told him, all his hair stood on end, because he'd known Nimai a long time. Now he just had that realization by Nimai's association and his divine words. He could understand. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He felt all his ecstatic symptoms. And so then they invited the Lord in, and he said, Nimai showed the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He said, worship me. Bring your family and worship me. So they worshipped him with different items and choice prayers. And he was very happy and said, please don't worry. I've come here to protect my devotees. I went to annihilate the miscreants, to protect the devotees especially. You should give up all your fears. So the devotees were very, very happy. But he said, don't tell anyone about this yet. But later on, when Lord Chaitanya actually revealed himself to everyone, made it known who he was, then they would have kirtans in Srivas's house, and they would start early in the morning, right after dawn. Everyone do their pujas, then they would gather there and have big kirtans. So sometimes they were extended, sometimes they'd last for an hour, but sometimes they'd go. One time they went for how many? 21 hours, the whole day and night. In that time, Lord Chaitanya was revealing his, calling the devotees by their previous names, because most of them are incarnations of their Lord's parshads. Hey Brahma, hey Garuda, hey Sridham, hey Hanuman. He's calling all his devotees by their actual eternal, or their spiritual identities. And he was, he'd taken the form of Vishnu. He was very quiet that morning. He picked up he sat on the altar, put the shalagram on his lap, and the altar was collapsing, so Nityananda rushed behind him and held him as he rolled as an anta, supporting the creation. And he began to tell the devotees of incidents that happened in their lives. You remember when you was very sick, had a high fever, and the doctor came and gave you that medicine? He said, I was that doctor. This was before the Lord appeared. And to his teacher, Gangadas, you remember you was moving, and you were stuck out in night time. You were moving with your family, and then some of the Muslim troops were there. And you were very fearful that your family was going to be molested, and you was cornered at the Ganga, and there were no boats. And you were thinking, better we jump in the Ganga rather than be molested. And just at that time, a boatman came, and he called, "Hey, boatman, please, please, save our life, come, come." And he took, and he said, "Please, please take us across the river." So, and you remember that time? He said, "I was a boatman. I came and saved you." I always protect my devotees. The local people, after all the devotees got in, there was a lot of devotees, hundreds of devotees used to get in that courtyard, a couple of hundred at least. Then they would close the gates. They would only let the pure devotees in. So a lot of the other people couldn't get in, were disappointed, and a lot were antagonistic. And because those kirtans were wild. I mean, when Lord Chaitanya used to chant and dance, sometimes it was so loud, like the eardrums were bursting. He'd be roaring and jumping, and other times he'd be dancing really, really gracefully and sweetly. And he would take on all these different moods of a devotee, and moods of the Supreme Lord, and there'd be all these different sounds coming out, kirtans, and the people were criticizing, "What's going on inside that place?" Everyone was attracted. They were hanging around, "What's going on in there?" And so, of course, there was the critics were there saying they must have some good wine in there, and they're chanting these mantras and enticing women in there, and they're just partying all night long. That's why they lock the doors. They don't want anyone to see what's going on. And some say, well, maybe it's just our karma, our bad luck that we can't get in there and see it also. But it really sounds like we're missing. And they would forcibly bring people. Listen to this. They would forcibly bring people there. Listen to this noise that's going on in there. And then soon the Qazi and the police are going to hear about it, because it is under Muslim rule at that time. They're going to hear about it, and they're going to come, and these Vaishnavas are going to run away, and we're going to get into trouble. That's rather we should go there and make a complaint, so at least we'll be safe. So there was a rumor that two boatloads of police had set off, because the Ganges used to flow that side near Brahmapukur, up this way, up this way, and Mahaprabhu told Srivas that, because during the kirtan, and he asked Srivas, I don't feel the usual ecstasy today. Something wrong? He said, no, there's not. How can there be anything wrong? You're dancing here, Supreme Lord. So he said, I know everything, Srivas. I know that you're very afraid. You're afraid for me, and afraid that these troops will come and arrest you also. He said, why should you be afraid? I'm invented just to protect my devotees. He said, I am the super soul in their hearts. He said, I just, merely by my desire, from in the heart, I will tell them, get back on the boat and go back home. Even if they don't hear, even if they don't listen to me, I will be the first one on the boat. Yes, please, take me to the Qazi. And then we'll challenge them. You're trying to stop this kirtan. You're trying to stop it, which you say is speculation or ineffective. So we make a challenge. You bring all of your mullahs, your scribes, your priests, and you bring all your palace animals, your elephants, horses, and your birds, peacocks, and things like that. You bring them all in the courtyard. Then you get the mullahs to read from the Quran and create such a state of ecstasy that all the people here and all the animals and birds start crying in ecstasy. He said, of course, they won't be able to do it. He said, then we'll start kirtan. He said, then we really show them they have to accept it. And Shiva said, oh, all right. He said, you don't believe me? Then he saw the niece of Srivas Thakur Narayani. She's about 4 years old, so he told Narayani, you chant Krishna's name and cry in ecstasy. And so from within and without, then he inspired Narayani imbued with love of Krishna. And she began to chant Krishna's name in great love, and a faltering voice, tears were streaming from her eyes, and her little body was trembling. And she was standing up and falling and standing and falling. And everyone could witness this great exhibition of love of Krishna. And everyone became very ecstatic also. Then Mahaprabhu said, now you believe me. You have no fear. I'm here to protect my devotees. And another incident like this, Yamaraj here has appeared as a young boy, Prabhupada said, because when a young boy speaks philosophy, everyone is impressed. Everyone is pleased. So in this incident, Srivas Thakur's, one of his sons died. So then his mother was crying, and then Srivas heard that, because kirtan was going on. So he quickly went to that room, and he says, be quiet, stop this noise, stop this noise. He said, but your son has died, he said, stop the noise, let them all die. Don't stop, don't stop this noise, don't stop this noise. If you interfere with the kirtan, I'm going to the Ganga, and you won't see me again. This way he very sternly spoke to them. To control their emotions, even though it was their own. He was his son, but he was so concerned with Mahaprabhu's service, and he shouldn't be disturbed, that he overcame that attachment that any father has for a child, and rebuked his wife and the other ladies, telling them to be quiet. Mahaprabhu was very happy with that, that he did that, because some hours later, the Mahaprabhu again stopped the kirtan, as some calamity taking place here. The usual ecstasy is not here. Srivas tried to deny anything, but the other devotees told him actually Srivas Thakur's son has died. So he said, take me to the boy. Why didn't you tell me before? He said, I didn't want to disturb the kirtan, didn't want to disturb your chanting. Mahaprabhu cried and embraced Srivas. He said, how can I ever leave you? How can I ever leave such a devotee as you, that your own son died, but you didn't. You just controlled all those emotions, and just for my sake. So let us see the boy. So he asked, then he spoke to the boy, why are you leaving us? Then the soul came back into the body by the influence, will of Mahaprabhu. And then the boy began to speak. Dear Lord, I've been in this body as long as destiny I was destined to stay in this body. And I was fortunate to be born in this house, of this Brahmin, Srivas. And but now it's time to leave. You know everything. Everything is moved by you. And now I'll be going on to another destination as programmed. And so, in other words, he began to speak Atma Tattva. And of course, they could understand that they had, like direct realization that he was different from the body, because he actually left his body and he came back in the body and began to speak again through the body. And then he said, I've lived here as long as I am destined. Now it's destiny to go back, to move on to the next destination. And then he closed his eyes and disappeared again. This way everyone was actually pacified. So this is the same method that here Hiranyakashipu is using to pacify the relatives of his brother Hiranyaksha, who was killed by Vishnu. And he's given so much knowledge, so much Atma Tattva, so much good knowledge. Of course, it not necessarily follows himself, because he wasn't cool. He was super angry, right? He wanted so much destruction done to there was so much hate and destruction he ordered to harass, kill the brahmanas, cows, burn the villages, cut the trees, and, horrible things he did for the sake of his brother. And he wanted to kill Vishnu. But being a diplomat, he controlled that and spoke these very sweet words full of Atma Tattva and pacified them. So he did the trick by narrating this story and others. Once, the Shaktas, they tried to defame Srivas Thakur, and outside his house they put some items that he used for worship in Durga Bhavani. It's a very tamastic form of worship with wine and meat. And they left these articles outside his house. So in the morning he came out and said, oh, he saw them, and he obviously knew what happened. So he made a joke, then he called the other Brahmins. Now you understand my real identity, now you understand what I'm doing on the quiet. And they said, who has done this? Who has done this? Because they had great respect for him. He was a professor, a teacher. And so the person that did it in Gopal Chapel, then he got leprosy. And within a few days he got leprosy from that. And he came to, and he had to live outside the village because it could be contagious. So he was suffering like anything. And one day, Mahaprabhu was walking on the Ganges past that, and he fell at Mahaprabhu's feet and was begging, I know you are the Supreme Lord. That time he was popular, famous. And I'm suffering so much. I made an offense. Please forgive me. I'm suffering so much. Mahaprabhu said, don't even speak to me, you despicable wretch. He said, please, have mercy on mercy, have mercy. I'm suffering so much. He said, this suffering is nothing. He said, after this birth, after suffering like this for a long time, in your next birth you're going to the creamy Bojo ocean or something like that, and you're going to be eaten by worms for millions of years. He said, this is nothing. It's just a token of what you're going to get. Don't even ask me for forgiveness. Just, what? Mahovanhadanaya, Krishna. But later on, he came and he said, I can't. He said, if you want to be forgiven, you have to be forgiven from the person that offended you. Srivas Thakur is a pure Vaishnava. If you get his forgiveness, that definitely, if you beg for his mercy, he will definitely give. He will definitely give. So this way he taught that to offend a Vaishnava is a very, very serious crime, very serious business. And one who tolerates offences to Vaishnavas is also partially indicted. So then and of course Srivas Thakur immediately forgave him. And I believe his leprosy disappeared. I can't remember. Anyway, then he got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya after he got the mercy of his devotee. There's many stories with Srivas Thakur, but if I take a few minutes to end up with some glorification of our dear God-brother Sridhar Maharaj, whose disappearance day was today. And he left here his body in Sridhar Mayapur in very good consciousness. He's a very, very exemplary devotee, did a lot of service for Srila Prabhupada, especially in India. He was very innovative. He used modern things and techniques for spreading Krishna consciousness. Very nice person, very, very nice person, very friendly. I didn't know him. I didn't know him very much. I didn't have much association, but because he was so open, you feel like you really knew him personally and really knew him well, even though I hadn't had spent so much time with him just during the Gorponima festivals when he was here. But because he was so approachable, so open, that it seemed like you know him forever. That he was always knew him, and it was my ideal of a self-realized person, not so much as he realized the Atma or the super soul, that kind of but he knew exactly where he was at. He knew he was, he was completely unpretentious. Sometimes devotees say they think I should be, I should act like a spirit soul. I should be like Prahlad or Queen Kunti, and they're kind of living. They don't actually be themselves. They thinking like that, or a perfect varnashram, sannyasi. You get that picture. Sannyasi should be renounced and austere and grave and very learned, but he wasn't. He was completely unpretentious, Sridhar Maharaj. He liked to eat pizza and ice cream. Preferred pizza and ice cream than rice, dal and sabji. And he didn't hide it. He wasn't like this is what he was. So like that, he was a very, very open person, and he was a very good preacher. He knew Hindi language, and he was preaching in India, Bombay especially. His forte, his style of preaching was generally he would blast the Indians by reminding them of their culture, because and he would tell them how they're deviating like that, and he'd get them really embarrassed. He's really good at that. He'd be really heavy, but then after he'd done that and made them a little sober, then he would swing it, and he'd tell some very humorous antidotes and things like that. And he ended up getting them all laughing, and they'll be laughing with him, and then he'd get them all chanting Hare Krishna. So at the end of the day, everyone was, he's a great, So he had a really good preaching techniques, and he was very, very popular with all these people. Once one relative of mine came to visit us in Mayapur, sister-in-law, and she didn't know anything about the Hare Krishna, actually. But she's come and visit us, so she went to Calcutta and she took the bus to Mayapur. And she said, I was sitting with her next to a really nice devotee on the bus. He was talking to me all the way. He was really so nice. He said, your religion is so nice. It's so light, because she came from a Christian background where it's all, thunder and repentance and, that kind of thing. She said, so light. She said, such a wonderful... Later on, I found out it was Sridhar Maharaj. He gave her his mercy. Yeah. And he came here. He said, I've come to leave my body in Mayapur. He was given his time. He kept getting reprieves, but he was given the time by the doctors that we can't do anything. So I go to Mayapur and leave my body. And then people said they could cure him, and sometimes he seemed to be getting better, and hepatitis C one time. So I asked him, what's it like, Maharaj? You're going to die, then you're not going to die. Then you're going to die, then you're not going to die. He said, he says, it's an overestimated thing, this death. He said, I said, how does it feel? One moment you're thinking you're going to die, and next moment you're going to live, and then, so we're going to die. Everyone's dying anyway, today or tomorrow. So he was quite unconcerned, and there was the very humorous story, because his body was bloated because of his disease, very big belly, and they called him one kind of doctor, healer, or something. And it was very intense in the room. His godbrothers were there, and because godbrothers, he had a notice on the door, the timings that people could come and see him. But there was a footnote: godbrothers, godsisters, anytime. This doesn't apply. You can come anytime, day or night. So then he put his stethoscopes on, and then he would put his ear to his belly because his belly was all swollen, and it was really intense, grave. Then Srila said, "What is it, a boy or a girl?" Then everyone cracked up. So he's quite, he's a very humorous person. And on the day this day on the appearance of Srivas Thakur, he knew he was going to leave. Then he asked his servant to get some tulsi of Nrsingadev. He was a great fan of Lord Nrsingadev. So then the servant, he came and asked me. It was like during Mangalarti. Then I got some tulsi leaves from Nrsingadev's feet, took them up there. And he was laying there a bit pale, eyes were a little lusterless. So I said, "Maharaj, Nrsingadev Prashadam tulsi." He opened his mouth. We put the tulsi in. And I stayed there for some time, and then said, "Maharaj, I have to go now, do service for the deity. I'll see you later when you come down for the Abhishek. Today's the appearance of Srivas Thakur. We'll see you for the Abhishek." But unfortunately, he left his body right then. But we brought him. They brought his body down anyway after he was bathed and everything, and he was there to perceive the Abhishek in his in his turban feature. So it was a glorious departure to a glorious person in a glorious place on a glorious day. So everything was auspicious there. So we pray to him that he may remember us wherever he is. We're still struggling down here, and see if he's back there with Krishna, then Srila Prabhupada, then to save a place for us where we come in soon. Sarindra Sridhar Swami Maharaj ki, Srivas Thakur ki, Srila Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna.